A anime start with our main character Setsu, a young guy just hanging out at high school with his close friend Yuhi, but suddenly everything goes pitch black. In the middle of the classroom, a mysterious rune appears on the floor, and while everyone is terrified, yet Setsu doesn't panic because the instant he sees that symbol he recognizes it, and before anyone can react only seconds later, every single student is transported to another world, leaving them confused and terrified as they struggle to understand what just happened. While Setsu already knows exactly where they are because he has been here before, and as fear starts to rise, enormous giant robots suddenly emerge and rush toward them at frightening speed, causing Setsu's classmates to scream and scatter in all directions to save themselves, while Yuhi throws herself towards Setsu, trying to shield him with her own body. But Setsu calmly raises just one finger and releases an overwhelming force, creating a powerful shockwave that sends every robot flying as if they were nothing. And without wasting time, he grabs Yuhi and runs, only to see a human army appear and begin fighting the robots head-on, which makes Setsu stop and observe in silence because this war was supposed to have ended many years ago. And then, standing boldly before everyone, a holy knight appears and warns them that they should not be here because this place is extremely dangerous, ordering them to head straight to the castle while she and the other knights deal with the robots. And after some time, Setsu and the others reach the castle where they are welcomed by the king and queen, who explain that this kingdom is called Destina and that it is once again under attack by demons, something that already happened 5 years ago, and back then they were saved by a hero from another world, which is why they are deeply grateful yet desperate now, because the demons have returned and they need all the help they can get, while Setsu quietly listens as they speak about the hero from years ago, realizing no one recognizes him at all. And soon, the king asks the students to become the heroes this world needs. So despite their fear and uncertainty, they accept because they have no other choice but to grow stronger in this unfamiliar world. And after several days of training, some learn sword combat while others practice magic. And Setsu notices that Yuhi has an incredible natural talent for magic, yet instead of training, Setsu hides away until the holy knight Iruka finds him and scolds him for avoiding training. And when Setsu casually calls her by her old name, she becomes visibly irritated and warns him that if he doesn't train, she will force him. But Setsu only smiles and challenges her to try, which angers her even more because his attitude reminds her strongly of the hero from years ago. So she lunges at him to teach him discipline, but Setsu effortlessly dodges her attack and lightly taps her, leaving her completely stunned because that move was something only the former hero ever did. And when Setsu asks if she has finally recognized him, Iruka immediately drops to her knees and apologizes, admitting she has been waiting for him to return for a long time. And as they speak, the knight Gren arrives, confused about why Iruka is acting this way towards Setsu, until she explains that Setsu is the one who returned to their world. And although Gren struggles to believe it since Setsu looks different, he accepts it because Iruka wouldn't say it without reason. And the three of them then go to visit a mage named Tia, who recognizes Setsu instantly despite his changed appearance, explaining that his magical power feels exactly the same, which flatters Setsu deeply. And as they talk about how he returned to this world, the others say there are more important things to discuss and move to a more private place, arriving at the castle walls where they ask Setsu how he came back and why he looks so different. And Setsu explains that his last memory was fighting Toma right there, and after striking him down with his sword, a massive explosion blinded him, and when he opened his eyes, he was back in his original world inside a different body. Yet he remembered everything and retained all his power, and many years passed before he was summoned again along with his classmates, surprising even himself, while Gren says it must be the work of destiny or something divine. And Setsu then asks what happened after he disappeared, leading Iruka to explain that they searched everywhere for him and for Toma, but found neither, which was strange. And now the demons have returned carrying a curse that Setsu has seen before, and she is certain it must be Toma's doing, leaving Setsu silently realizing that the battle he thought was over may have never truly ended. As Setsu listens to everything, he begins wondering where Toma could be now and what he is planning to do with everyone. And while that thought lingers, a soldier suddenly arrives to inform Gren that the king urgently needs him. So Gren leaves immediately and gathers with several soldiers as the king announces his decision to start a new war against the demons, even though a peace treaty still exists, a treaty the former hero himself had recommended years ago. Yet since that hero disappeared and seemingly abandoned them, the king no longer believes in following his words. And now that they have a new group of heroes, he takes it as a divine sign to restart the war and wipe out the demons once and for all. While Gren desperately tries to stop this decision but cannot reveal that Setsu has returned, and no matter what he says, no one listens. Later that night, Setsu meets Yuhi, who is glowing with happiness because she has finally gained better control over her magic, and she proudly shows him her progress, which makes Setsu genuinely praise her talent. Yet she asks him why magic must only be used for war because she does not agree with the fighting. Still, she promises to use her magic to protect Setsu, though he gently tells her not to worry because he will never allow anything bad to happen to any of them. After that, Setsu meets with Gren and the others, where Gren explains he managed to delay the war a little longer since since the heroes are not ready yet. And hearing this, Setsu calmly says he already knows what must be done, that it makes no sense to send unprepared students into war, and that he himself should take care of it first, which excites the others as they promise to help. But Setsu stops them and says he must go alone, because if Toma is truly behind everything, then someone must stay behind to protect the castle and the people. And after some hesitation, everyone agrees. So together, they sneak into the weapon storage using concealment magic, and the moment Setsu steps inside, his eyes lock onto his legendary sword, filling him with emotion because it has been so long since he last saw it. But soon the guards notice intruders, forcing Gren and Tia to handle them while Setsu escapes the castle with Iruka's help. And as they part ways, Yuhi suddenly runs toward him, unable to understand why he is leaving. And at that moment, Setsu finally tells her the truth, that this is not his first time in this world, and that the hero from 5 years ago the king keeps talking about was actually him. And he explains that to end the war quickly, he needs to visit someone he knows, but Yuhi immediately insists on going with him, only for Setsu to refuse because it is too dangerous, and she is safer inside the castle. So he promises to return to her, and before he leaves, Yuhi uses her magic on him, cutting his hair to change his appearance, which surprises Setsu as he realizes she is now controlling wind and fire magic at the same time. And she promises to become much stronger before he comes back, making Setsu smile proudly at her determination as he departs to uncover Toma's plans. That same night, a young woman is traveling in a carriage filled with goods, having taken over her grandfather's legacy after his death years ago. But suddenly her horse stops as a massive wild boar blocks the path, terrifying her as the beast crashes into the carriage and knocks it over. Yet more than anything, she worries about a single box containing a treasured accessory her grandfather cherished, and frozen in fear. Before the monster, she cannot move, but at that exact moment, Setsu, passing nearby, hears the noise and rushes over, instantly slaying the boar without hesitation, leaving the girl stunned as she thanks him and introduces herself as Rudy. Then, she looks at Setsu and recalls someone who once bought items from her grandfather years ago, promising to pay him despite not having enough money since she has not sold all her goods. But Setsu refuses any payment and advises her to hire protection because traveling alone is extremely dangerous, which makes Rudy instead ask him to guard her, offering payment. Yet Setsu declines again because he has a mission, though she desperately begs him to at least accompany her to the next city, and after some thought he agrees, leaving the carriage behind as they ride together on horseback, and by morning they reach the city, shocking Setsu as he notices how much the economy has improved in just a few years, while Rudy explains she needs to find a ship to the demon continent, something Setsu believes is impossible during wartime, but she remains determined, asking every sailor she sees, only to be rejected again and again because the journey is too dangerous. And as Setsu watches her persistence, city guards suddenly stop her and begin questioning her presence and the contents of her bag, which she refuses to show because it holds something precious, causing the guards to grow aggressive and threaten her with punishment until Setsu steps in and claims he is her guardian, angering the guards who challenge him to fight. But Setsu calmly invites them to try, and as a crowd gathers and rumors of a fight spread, the guards back down, warning Setsu that he will pay for this later, after which Setsu and Rudy talk again, and she gratefully offers him a meal, only for Setsu to explain that finding a ship is impossible, but he himself must go to the demon continent, so he can take her along on the condition that she rests here for the night, which she accepts, insisting as a merchant that she will pay half. And that night after Setsu finishes bathing, he tells Rudy she can bathe too, but before doing so, she entrusts him with her grandfather's box, and Setsu immediately recognizes what is inside, leading Rudy to explain that her grandfather was the most respected jeweler in the city, known for creating incredibly valuable pieces, and that years ago someone bought this brooch but later returned it for repair. And although her grandfather fixed it, his illness prevented him from delivering it. So before dying, he asked her to fulfill his final wish by delivering the jewel to the demon kingdom. And hearing this, Setsu finally understands why Rudy is willing to risk everything to reach the demon continent, no matter the cost. So Setsu promises Rudy that he will keep the jewel safe while she goes to bathe, and she thanks him sincerely for everything, while he stays behind remembering that this very jewel was something he himself had commissioned years ago, quietly hoping that the protective enchantment placed on it has not faded yet. And later that same night, while Setsu is sleeping, strange noises wake him up, making him realize that the guards who had harassed Rudy earlier have tracked them down to the inn, claiming they are suspicious spies. And without hesitation, Setsu prepares to move, and when the guards burst into the room, he takes Rudy with him, escaping through the window as they run through the city streets, the guards chasing closely behind, yet Setsu dodges them effortlessly, and after some time they reach the docks, where Rudy admits she is terrified because she has nowhere else to go. And just then the guards arrive again, furious that Setsu has caused them so much trouble that day, telling him there is no escape and that they will make them pay, but Setsu simply laughs, lifts Rudy in his arms, and suddenly jumps into the sea, leaving the guards frozen in shock, unable to understand what just happened, until they see that Setsu is not sinking but rising, carried upward by a massive sea monster, and Setsu calmly calls it Levia, thanking her for the help without explaining much, while the guards can only stare in disbelief, and Setsu asks asks Levia to take them to the demon continent, which she understands immediately and begins moving toward that destination. And after some time, Rudy realizes that the creature carrying them is the legendary Leviathan, making her panic as she wonders who she has really hired as her guard, but Setsu tells her to look ahead because they have already arrived at the demon continent. And upon reaching the demon realm, Levia suddenly battles a giant squid, defeating it after a fierce struggle, and with some effort she transforms into her human form, complaining that Setsu did not help in the fight, only for him to reply that he trusted she could handle it alone. And taking advantage of the moment, Setsu prepares food using the squid, inviting everyone to eat together, while Rudy hesitates at first but eventually tastes it and becomes completely delighted by the flavor. And Levia then asks Setsu where he has been, since it has been over 5 years with no word from him, also scolding him because she kept her promise of preventing wars while he disappeared. And Setsu apologizes, admitting too much has happened and that he cannot easily explain it all, but says the important thing is that he has come to resolve an issue with the Dark Lord. And Rudy reveals she also came here to meet that same person, which surprises Levia until she remembers the Dark Lord's brooch was sent for repair, realizing Rudy must be the one meant to deliver it, while Rudy grows confused because she only planned to give the brooch to Daesas, not knowing who they were really talking about, until Setsu and Levia explain that Daesas is in fact the Dark Lord herself, shocking Rudy deeply. And later, Setsu decides to bring the remaining squid to a nearby village so the people can enjoy it, discovering that the villagers are struggling badly because fishing has become difficult due to war alerts, hurting their economy. So when Setsu presents the squid, everyone is amazed, and the village decides to hold a celebration in his honor, filling the night with food and joy, treating Levia with great respect as the Queen of the Seas and a legendary figure, while Setsu cooks more squid for everyone. And at the same time, a soldier sent by the Dark Lord hears the noise and sees the lights from afar, mistakenly thinking a battle has begun, rushing toward the village to help. Yet by the time he arrives, the celebration is already winding down, and Levia sits to talk with Rudy, who asks how she met Setsu, prompting Levia to say it was 5 years ago when Setsu tried to cross the sea without permission and defeated her, then asked her to help him defeat the Dark Lord, though in her own mind she remembers it differently, knowing she had complained about the noise of war and Setsu had beaten her in a single blow. And she is still annoyed that he vanished for so many years and returned as if nothing happened, while Rudy listens in awe, realizing Setsu is the same hero from 5 years ago who brought peace to the world. And as they speak, the general of the demon army arrives in panic, almost attacking them until he realizes it is only a celebration. And later, Levia rests at the dock while Setsu finishes selling the squid and goes to speak with her, but before he can, a soldier named Blad greets Levia, surprised to see her in human form, and Setsu steps in, greeting Blad, who immediately senses Setsu's magical power and recognizes him as the hero, then makes a desperate request, explaining that Daesas's life is in grave danger because she is about to be forced into marriage to maintain peace, after months ago the human kingdom invaded demon territory without reason, triggering a new war. And although the demons defended themselves, a human noble brought a cursed collar to the Dark Realm, a curse so powerful it affected Daesas herself, forcing her to obey his demands. And as the general, he is seeking help because Daesas is willing to sacrifice everything to preserve peace. And Rudy adds that she knows the man who gave the collar, revealing he is one of the richest merchants in the world, whose influence and wealth are unmatched. And hearing this, Setsu becomes furious, realizing humans attacked first, and that a human is manipulating Daesas, so he declares he will head straight to the Dark Castle to free her from the curse, while Blad warns that monsters surround the castle and that the merchant Tehran has elite guards. Yet Levia steps forward, saying she will handle those obstacles so Setsu can focus on the rest. And together, they rush toward the castle, defeating monster packs along the way, until Levia asks Setsu what he plans to do once he meets Daesas. And he replies that he will break the curse on the collar and personally deal with Tehran, explaining that the truth is unclear because humans claim demons attacked first, while demons say the opposite. Yet Setsu himself saw the attacks and knows they were not demons but magically enhanced robots, leading him to believe Tehran is orchestrating a war between both sides while pretending to be a savior, using the cursed collar, suspecting he is either the mastermind or part of a larger plan. And Levia, understanding now, promises to help fully, admitting that she once cared little for the world, but after Setsu convinced her to fight, she realized how beautiful it was and will never allow anyone to destroy the peace he created. And after defeating more monsters, they finally reach the Dark Castle, where Daesas recalls the day she first met Setsu, when amid battle he offered her his hand to talk and end the war, gifting her a protected brooch as a symbol of peace between kingdoms, an agreement she accepted, only to later lose all contact with him, leaving the world unaware of his fate. And now, as everything begins to move again, the past and present collide, signaling that the true battle to protect that fragile peace is about to begin. For her part, Daesas chose to keep the promise of peace she had made and decided she would do everything possible to improve her kingdom. And after 5 long years, the demon realm truly flourished, its economy stronger than ever, until one day while she was walking through the city, the amulet Setsu had given her suddenly broke, something that felt deeply wrong, yet she immediately sent it to be repaired. But only days later she received shocking news that the Kingdom of Destina had begun invading demon territory and was attacking one of their cities. And the moment Daesas heard this, she sensed something was off, so she ordered her troops not to counterattack, but only to defend the city, refusing to break the promise she had once made to Setsu. And days later, Vlad brought troubling updates that their forces were holding the front line, but could not last much longer. And at the same time, he informed her that Terran had arrived to see her. And knowing his importance among humans, Daesas agreed to meet him, where Terran proposed ending the war using his wealth and influence through his powerful company to prevent losses on both sides and restore peace. Yet this offer came with a cruel condition, demanding that Daesas marry him and wear a collar that everyone recognized as a cursed artifact. And hearing this, Daesas asked for time to think because the decision was too heavy, which Terran accepted while warning her that delaying would only hasten a true war. And that night, Daesas struggled alone with her thoughts, knowing Terran had hidden intentions, but also realizing this might be the only way to end the conflict quickly and still honor her promise to Setsu, while Vlad urged her to refuse, swearing the army would fight for her. Yet Daesas replied that the treaty existed precisely to prevent more innocent suffering. And elsewhere, Terran calmly told his hooded companion that everything was proceeding as planned, only to be reminded that these were the master's plans and must be followed exactly. And that very night, as Setsu infiltrated the city, an official wedding ceremony began in the Dark Castle, where Terran proudly lifted the collar and announced that once the pact was sealed, he would become the new Dark Lord and bring peace and prosperity, while Daesas stood unable to speak, tears falling as doubt consumed her, until the moment Terran moved to place the collar, when the church's crystals suddenly shattered and Setsu descended beside Daesas, her eyes widening as she recognized his sword and the overwhelming power flowing from him, sending the crowd into panic as guards rushed forward, only for Levia to wipe them out instantly. And when the hooded man tried to bind Levia with a powerful spell and strike her, Setsu shattered the magic and appeared behind him, striking him down and declaring they would pay for everything they had done, shocking the hooded man, who never expected the hero Setsu to appear. Yet he attacked fiercely with spells that Setsu blocked effortlessly, dispersing all magic with a single swing before knocking him to the ground and demanding he fight with full power, only for the man to rise and admit he never intended to fight, but only to confirm Setsu's identity so he could report back to his master. And with that, he shattered part of the castle and vanished into the darkness. And Setsu chose not to pursue him, while Daesas thanked him for saving her, and Setsu replied that they still had a promise to keep, checking on the guards only to realize they vanished as products of cursed magic, confirming Setsu's belief that Toma was behind everything, a thought Daesas shared now that she had seen the hooded man's power. And Setsu explained they could not stay long because they needed to visit the Beast King Regulus to decide their next move, which Daesas immediately understood since Regulus would be a powerful ally. And soon Vlad and Rudy arrived, Rudy overjoyed that Daesas was safe and offering the brooch to Setsu so he could return it himself, and Setsu accepted, handing the brooch to Daesas once again, who received it with deep happiness because she had missed it greatly. And as guards secured the ruined castle and took Tehran away, Setsu said his farewells, preparing to journey with Levia to meet the Beast King, while Daesas thanked him sincerely and hoped they would meet again soon. And Setsu promised they would, as Rudy wished him well too, deciding to stay in the Demon Kingdom after Daesas offered her the chance to open her own shop, meaning she would live there for a long time. And hearing this, Setsu felt relieved, knowing that even as new dangers awaited, the bonds he had rebuilt were already shaping a different future. Happy to see how well the two of them were getting along, Setsu quietly hopes that when peace finally returns to the world, he will be able to come back again without battles following him. And a few days later, Yuhi finds herself lost in memories of her childhood, thinking back to the first time she met Setsu, when they were still very young and he always carried a cold expression, rarely showing emotion and often rejecting her ideas without much reaction. Yet because they lived close to each other, time slowly pulled them together, and before they realized it, they were playing games, studying after school and growing closer day by day until they reached high school, where Setsu always stood out for his excellent grades and perfect scores, while Yuhi struggled more. And one day she nervously asked him if she could ever attend the same academy as him, only to be told honestly that it might be better for her to choose an easier path so she wouldn't suffer so much. Words that deeply discouraged her, yet instead of giving up, she decided to push herself harder, believing that if she could raise her scores enough, she could attend the same academy and stay by his side, because the thought of being separated from him hurt too much. And later, when exam results arrived and she still hadn't improved enough, she felt crushed, until some men approached her carelessly, telling her not to worry about studying because there were better things she could do. But seeing this, Setsu stepped in and told them to leave her alone, making the men assume he was her boyfriend and back away, leaving Yuhi stunned that he had protected her. And when he asked her what she planned to do in the future, reminding her that the academy he aimed for would be extremely difficult, she replied without hesitation that no matter how hard it was or how much she had to study, she wouldn't give up because she didn't want to drift away from him. Feelings she only began to understand later, and that same afternoon as the boys trained their magic, Yuhi stood out among everyone, her magical power clearly stronger, impressing even the knights. And after training, she chose not to rest, instead going with Gren and Eruka to ask them to train her personally, because she knew they were Setsu's comrades and wanted to become strong enough to stand beside him wherever he went. And hearing this resolve, Eruka agreed and took her through the city, explaining that while they trained here, Setsu was somewhere else facing deadly dangers just to restore peace, and that was why they needed the strength to protect what he fought for. Words that Yuhi fully understood as they began sparring, with Yuhi blocking Erika's ice magic using her own spells, only for Erika to counter with her sword, praising Yuhi mid-fight for growing stronger than expected, yet warning her there was still something she lacked, leading her through underground tunnels where soldiers usually trained, telling her to prepare herself because a monster lived there. And suddenly, a giant crocodile appeared, freezing Yuhi in fear, until Erika ordered her to fight, reminding her she couldn't afford to stand still, forcing Yuhi to act as she launched a fireball that struck the monster, though she was nearly overwhelmed when it counterattacked and wounded her arm. Yet she gathered all her strength and blasted it away with a powerful fire spell, only to see it still struggling to rise. And Eruka told her this was exactly what she needed, the resolve to finish a fight, because if she wanted to stay close to Setsu, she couldn't leave enemies alive to harm others. And hearing this, Yuhi understood, as Eruka ended the battle with a storm of ice crystals, telling her that true determination was essential on the battlefield. Later, Tia healed Yuhi's wounds and explained she understood why Eruka had pushed her so hard, because Setsu looked at Yuhi with the same admiration he once held for his comrades, confirming the deep bond between them. And Yuhi confessed she wanted to fight to protect Setsu just as he had always protected her, words that filled Tia with warmth. And the next day, Yuhi spoke with Gren, who explained that hesitation in taking an enemy's life was normal, as such resolve only comes when one decides to protect loved ones at any cost, advising her to discover her own reason to fight, words Yuhi carried into training where she unleashed her strongest spell yet, carving a crater that shocked everyone. And that night, she returned to the tunnels with Eruka to show her newfound resolve, facing the crocodile again and overwhelming it with flames, yet choosing not to kill it, explaining that her determination was to protect people without taking lives, a resolve that astonished Eruka and reminded her of Setsu, though she warned that such control demanded even greater strength, which Yuhi promised to achieve. And the following day, the knights announced the king's official order to begin the war, preparing all heroes for their march to the demon realm, while Yuhi accompanied the knights, already stronger than her peers, asking Levia if there was a faster way to cross the sea, only to be told that such teleportation required immense effort, something Setsu rarely used. And just then as they traveled, a carriage stopped and several girls boarded, shocking Setsu when he recognized the older girl and called her Alice, her face lighting up with joy as she joined him along with her sister, introducing herself to Levia as Setsu's former apprentice from the demon realm, explaining how he taught them to fight during their journey years ago. And when Alice asked why he disappeared, Setsu finally told them everything, later inviting her to join him to meet the Beast King, only for her to refuse, explaining that after losing contact with him, she became a monster hunter to survive, traveling village to village until being hired to slay a great dragon, where she met her sister Amer, who lost her brother during a dragon attack, a pain Alice deeply understood, promising to finish one final mission before settling down, which is why she couldn't join him. And hearing this, Setsu accepted her choice, asking gently about Amer's brother, only to learn that no one knew his fate, as whenever the dragon attacked, people simply vanished, leaving yet another mystery hanging in the air. People from the village had vanished without leaving a single trace, and because of this, Alice decided that when she learned the dragon was responsible, she would face it herself, choosing to protect the village by drawing the monster away, telling her sister to hide safely inside the house. And not long after, she was already fighting the dragon alone, using everything she had learned from Setsu as she leapt across rooftops and struck the beast hard enough to wound it, forcing it to flee toward the forest, and refusing to let it escape, she chased it for a long time until she finally lost sight of it and had no choice but to return empty-handed, only to be horrified when she reached the village and found it completely deserted, with not a single person left except Amer, the only one still there. So she immediately decided to take her sister to the nearest city where she could be safe under someone's care, planning to return later and investigate what truly happened. And it was during this moment that she encountered Setsu's carriage. And after hearing her story, Setsu told her he understood and that if things were truly this strange, he would help her as well, because he could not allow his former student to handle something like this alone. While Levia added that the disappearances could not be caused by sea monsters or sudden vanishing, since the village was deep in the mountains, leading Setsu to believe this was more like an abduction, meaning the situation had to be investigated carefully. And when the carriage suddenly stopped due to a flooded river blocking the road, Setsu continued discussing the mystery with Levia, who suggested the dragon must have been drawn there by magic, since repeated attacks made no sense otherwise. But Alice argued that no one in the village possessed magic strong enough to explain the disappearances, and as Setsu reflected deeply, he suddenly realized the truth, understanding that the dragon only attacked when someone used magic, meaning teleportation teleportation magic of a high level must have been used in the village, drawing the dragon in. Yet what confused him was why only the villagers vanished while Amer remained. And then he noticed something else deeply wrong, remembering that Amer had once casually commented on terrifying sea monsters, something impossible for an ordinary human, since even demons could not easily recognize Levish as the sea goddess because she concealed her power perfectly. And at that moment, Amer began to laugh, her eyes shifting unnaturally as a massive surge of magic erupted, destroying the carriage and throwing Setsu and the others away. And as Setsu regained his footing, the dragon appeared once more, revealing the truth at last, that Amer was not human at all, but a dragon who had been disguising herself. And instantly Setsu and Levia launched their attack together, with Setsu releasing a devastating magical slash that shattered the dragon's spell and inflicted a critical wound, forcing it to attempt escape again, only for Alice to seize the moment, leaping forward and driving her sword straight into the dragon's forehead, causing it to dissolve into pure magic and vanish into the sky. And afterward, Setsu continued his journey with Levia, who questioned whether it was right to leave Alice behind, but Setsu calmly replied that if she wished to be his apprentice, she must prove she could complete the mission entrusted to her. And back at the village, Alice returned to her house, reminiscing about her memories with Amer, until she suddenly heard her voice again, turning around to see her standing at the door surrounded by giant monsters, mocking her survival and revealing the truth that she was Miwa, the monster tamer, the one who captured the villagers to turn them into soldiers for the war under direct orders, declaring them her new servants. While elsewhere in a Beastman village, a girl named Shironeko walked home after defeating monsters, warmly greeted by merchants and townspeople who admired her for always protecting them, offering food and supplies despite her living alone with her gravely ill sister. Gifts she politely declined while thanking them sincerely, promising only to keep protecting the town, and upon reaching home she showed her sister everything she had earned and promised to cook her a great meal, only for her sister to begin coughing violently, forcing Shironeko to rush for medicine, her worry growing as she realized they were running out and she would soon need to obtain more, unaware that at the same time Setsu was arriving in this very town, quietly gathering information as yet another fate-changing encounter drew closer. The dock worker informs Setsu that there are no ships available at the moment and that the next one traveling upriver will only depart the following day, so Setsu thanks him for the information and tells Levia that they should find a place to stay and rest for the night. While elsewhere, Shironeko arrives at a shop where she sells monster parts to buy another bottle of medicine, and the receptionist hands it to her easily while praising her, knowing how hard it is for her to complete dangerous missions while taking care of her sick sister. Then she tells Shironeko that she has a special mission and hands her a poster with Setsu's face on it, explaining that if she eliminates this target, the reward would be so large that she would never need to worry about money again and could buy all the medicine her sister would ever need. Yet Shironeko hesitates because she does not like the idea of killing a human. But at that very moment, Setsu and Levia enter the inn, forcing Shironeko to hide under her cloak, while Setsu calmly asks the receptionist for a room to sleep that night. And later, Shironeko prepares dinner for her sister, who is too weak to eat much, making Shironeko's worry deepen until she finally decides she will accept the mission for her sister's sake, telling her she needs to go out briefly to complete a task. Then she meets the receptionist again, who notices that Setsu is asleep and hints that this is the perfect chance. And Shironeko thanks her, promising to share the reward since the inn has always helped them since they became orphans, receiving the room key as she heads upstairs, entering Setsu's room and seeing him sleeping, launching forward with her claws, only to rip apart the bed as an illusion fades, realizing it was deception magic just as Setsu appears behind her, and she kicks him through the window, revealing the shadow of her true power, while Setsu asks if she is a follower of Toma, which she denies, saying she only has a mission to complete, then partially transforms, her arms and legs turning beast-like as she leaps into the air and hurls a massive fire spell, shocking Setsu with its power, yet he erases it completely with a single sword slash, rushing forward and striking her, scolding her for using such dangerous magic in the city where innocent people could be harmed, unintentionally knocking her unconscious. And moments later, Levia arrives, sensing a curse on the girl and suspecting she is being manipulated. Hours later, Shironeko wakes up to find Setsu beside her and instinctively prepares to attack, only to realize she is back home with her sister begging her to stop. And Setsu explains that he already understood why she took such dangerous missions after seeing the medicine she bought, revealing that her sister was not sick but cursed, and he summons a light spell to expose the curse bound to her necklace, dark energy pouring out as he realizes how powerful it is, causing Shironeko to beg him to save her sister, promising anything in return. And Setsu reassures her that he knows how, warning that breaking such a curse will be painful, yet both sisters accept, so Setsu summons his devouring sword, pouring vast magic into it as its special ability activates, allowing it to consume curses. And as the curse is drawn out and devoured, the girl suffers intensely, until suddenly a dagger is thrown from behind, interrupting the process as Shironeko shields Setsu and is struck in the shoulder, revealing the attacker as Kuroinu, who is furious that the mission failed and that Shironeko protected the target, declaring she will kill Setsu herself, only to be blasted away by Levia, who calmly tells Setsu that despite her strength, she is nothing compared to a sea goddess, and as Setsu resumes purging the curse, Kuroinu mocks Levia, claiming a sea goddess has little power on land and creates multiple clones to attack, but Levia overwhelms them all with surging water blasts, smashing every clone and launching Kuroinu into the air, confronting her and demanding the truth, while Shironeko asks why she betrayed them when she saw her as a sister, only to be mocked as Kuroinu reveals Toma's true goal of becoming a god and erasing all other races, claiming she serves him willingly before escaping in a flash of light, and afterwards Setsu confirms that Shironeko's sister's curse is fully removed, leading the sisters to embrace in relief, while Setsu tells Levia that Toma is still moving according to his plan, meaning they must stop him no matter what, because he will never allow him to destroy the peace of the world. And with that resolve set, this anime of the story comes to an end. So friend, if you enjoy this anime and want next full part, so don't forget to like and subscribe the Connie now.